However, in 1960, God heard the cries and saw the tears of Africans and set them free. It was the man of Fatima who, once an adult, intervened in favor of his brothers. Because God always puts himself on the side of the weakest. And he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 9. 1960, therefore, can be called the year of Passover. As God by the hand of Moses freed the people of Israel, from slavery in Egypt, in the same way, He, the Almighty, through the new Pentecost that took place on July 25, 1949, Leviticus chapter 25 verse 8, in Leopoldville, today Kinshasa, DRC, freed the Africans from the bondage of the Europeans. Answer to the 10th and last question. 10. John chapter 23, Pope John 23 after reading the Fatima secret fainted because he had just learned a piece of news that fell on him like lightning. His master, his Lord, was back, but not as the Vatican expected. In fact, the secret was the confirmation of Isaiah's oracle. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 8. In fact, the Lord was supposed to appear in the Middle East. He appeared. Also, he was expected white and came as black. Who could imagine that the Lord would be born again of a woman? Who could imagine that he would be black? Who could imagine that he would appear in the center of Africa? For the church that proclaims itself to be the embassy of the Son of God on earth, the hour of judgment had arrived, because Christ had promised that on his return he would begin to sweep his house first. Now let's see who is the head, not only of the Catholic Pope, but of all the kings, monarchs and presidents of the world. To unravel this is to unravel the famous third secret of Fatima. Ecce homo. What does that mean? You are certainly wondering. My children, these are words from a language called Latin, a very ancient idiom that was spoken at the time of Christ. It is the language of those who crucified Jesus, the Romans. The man who condemned Jesus to die on the cross was a Roman governor named Pilate. Pontius Pilate. He was the one who uttered those words ecce homo when he handed Jesus over to the crowd that was shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" John chapter 19 verses 5 to 6. Ecce homo means, behold the man. Ecce homo in the story of Fatima is a very mysterious man that we will introduce you to in this final chapter. Let's call him the Man of Fatima. Simao Toko is his name. Simao Toko was born on February 24, 1918. You are so intelligent, my children, that you soon understood that it was the birth of Simao Toko that was announced by Our Lady of Heaven to the little shepherds of Fatima. Simao Toko, ecce homo, the Man of Fatima, was born in Angola. At that time this country, although located in West Africa, was an overseas province of Portugal. Ultramar means, on the other side of the ocean, that is, the Atlantic Ocean. The birth of this ecce homo is a very important event in the history of the world in general and of Africa in particular. In fact, humanity does not know it yet. But it was to celebrate this event that the First World War ended in the same year, on November 11, 1918. To confirm this, God caused Angola, the homeland of Simao Toko, to be freed from Portugal on the same day, the 11th of November. The year is 1975. The birth of Simao Toko was prophesied about 3 centuries in advance by a young prophetess from the same region, northern Angola. The name of this prophetess is Kimpa Vita. She met a cruel death for having proclaimed the truth. She was indeed burned alive by Catholic missionaries at Mbanza, Congo in July 1706. When Eke Homo, the man of Fatima, was 3 years old. In 1921, a great prophet appeared in the south of the Belgian Congo, in an area very close to the north of Angola where the boy Toko lived. Simon Kimbungu repeated Kimpa Vita's message, the return of Christ in Africa, and accompanied his preaching of incredible miracles. Simon Kimbungu gave sight to the blind, hearing to the deaf, speech to the dumb, walking to the paralyzed, life to the dead. He cleansed lepers and preached the good news of the kingdom of God to the poor. Matthew chapter 11 verses 5-6. Kimbungu's name means, the witness. Look, little children. He reminds us of someone in the Bible. There is undoubted similarity between Kimbungu John the Baptist, Christ's cousin. There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. This man came for a witness, that he might testify of the light, that all might believe through him. John chapter 1 verses 6-7.